Welcome, everybody, to yet again another session of Civil Chat. My name is Brian Haley. To my left or right or somewhere is the other Brian's. Brian Mackey. He's been doing this with me for, God, how long have we been doing this now, Brian?
I think we did started in like 2006.
Yeah, it's been ages since we've been doing this together. And then Mr. Tomasi here has joined us. I've worked with Brian for probably about the same amount of time, but you haven't been doing Civil Chat with us the whole time.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember Frog,
Frog and
Brian?
Toad. Which Brian?
Yeah, you. Tomasi. Remember Frog back in the day, the Front Range Autodesk Users Group?
No,
Oh,
it
do
was
you
called
remember?
it was called POG,
Yeah,
Professional Autodesk Users Group.
No. That was the Denver-based one. We had one there at CAD One that was just kind of geared more towards the civil. And we
that's
tried
interesting.
disguise
Oh,
it
well,
as
if it was
Frog.
just geared towards if it was just geared towards civil, of course I'm not going to remember that.
Of
Yeah,
course you're not.
Mike and I also had Civil 3D Frag, Front Range Autodesk Group.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, it was not
Was it
fraud,
Frag, not Frog?
yeah. It was fragging after, Quake, the game.
Okay,
Frag.
gotcha.
That's how far we go back. Wow.
All right, well, it looks like we got a lot of
Whoa.
great. Oh, we got somebody from New Zealand. We got somebody from Finland. We got somebody from Long Island. We got somebody from. Wait, are you in Thornton or Westminster now, Brian?
Me?
Yeah,
Westminster.
Westminster. We got somebody from Westminster. Um,
I always
Tomasi,
just
you're
usually
up in
like
the
to say from
Northwest,
planet
right?
Earth. I'm from planet Earth because any given day I might be working from here wherever here is. Like I've done this from the
Really?
houseboat. Yeah, so
Working from a houseboat. Nice.
Yep. So if this is your first time at Civil Chat, this is your chance to ask questions and we will do our best to answer them. You can ask questions on anything civil engineering related with Autodesk software primarily. You can ask about MicroStation, but my response is probably going to be, I don't know. Um, but one thing I always like to do is I always like to start off and show something before we get this topic started. So let me go ahead and share
and as
the
Brian's
screen.
sharing, I will say, ask your questions, but please put them in the question and answer
Yes.
pod. Obviously, we have the webinar chat going where everybody's telling us where they're from. That's great. But if you have the questions, please put those in the Q&A pod because it's really hard for us as a duo to try to keep track of what chats, because as the chats come in, they just scroll, but questions just stay in the question pod. So
Yeah, make sure you ask the questions there. Um, Feel free to chat though, heckle, make fun of, encourage, whatever. Doesn't really matter. But if you don't ask questions, this is going to be a very short presentation. I actually have to hit the share button. There we go. So can you see my screen now?
yes, sir.
Awesome. All right. So what I thought I would do today is talk about so we've talked about expressions and labels in the past, but I don't think we've ever talked about the ability to create something in a label that does not scale with the drawing scale, right? So if I were to create a label and to put a line in the label, that line would scale if as the drawing scales, right? So, labels here, if I change my scale from 1 inch equals 40 to 1 inch equals 80, you can see the text get bigger. But if there was a line in that, it would scale as well. If there was a symbol in there, it would scale as well. And sometimes you don't want that. So in this example, what I want to do is I want to put a fire hydrant symbol with a line going to the perpendicular to the alignment. And so this would be like the fire service line and the fire hydrant itself. But the thing is if I put that line into a label, then it's going to scale with the drawing scale, and I don't want that. All right, and so if I come over here to, let's see, I haven't actually practiced this. I probably should have done this before. And so label
Practicing is
styles,
overrated.
right?
Yeah.
So this is going to be a station offset label, right? I'll just go ahead and create a brand new one here. And I don't even know what blocks I have in this drawing. This is just one of the sample drawings that comes with Civil 3D. So we'll see what we've got. And so the first thing I want to put in is I want to put in a block. So I'm going to get rid of all this text. I don't need any of this stuff, right? So I'm going to insert a block. We'll call this one hydrant. I probably should have checked to see if we have. If not, we can always get one. And then the block name, what do we have in here? Yeah, we don't have any hydrants in here. Let me pull in one of our hydrants here real quick. Utility symbols, water symbols. We'll just throw a fire hydrant in here. We got a hydrant in here, so we should be good to go now. Now let's try this again. Let's see the layout. We'll get rid of that. We will add in the block, and the block will be that hydrant. Right. I'm just going to set it to be, so maybe this symbol I do want to scale with this drawing scale. If not, I could do some other things, but I'm just going to add this scale. But then what I want is I want a line that goes from the hydrant to the alignment itself. And that's the piece that I don't want to scale. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead for now. I'm going to go ahead and put in just a line, and then we need to figure out what we want to do with this. All right, so our start point is going to be at block 1. Actually, yeah. All right, it's going to be block 1. We'll do it at the center. Start point anchor. We're going to just hang on. I'm doing something wrong here. Visibility. That should be middle center. Oh, insertion point, rather. Use endpoint anchor will be true. And we can't go to the feature, right? So what I need to do is I need to calculate the length and the road that this is going to be at and the rotation. I don't think I need to do the rotation, but I need to calculate the length. So that length is going to be the offset. So for the endpoint anchor component, I'm going to set that to false. And I'm going to put in a length and an angle here. All right, so what does that length need to be? Well, it needs to be whatever the offset is. So I'm going to go create an expression. Right, and this will be the line length. Right, my expression is going to be whatever the offset is, but then I need to account for the drawing scale. Right, so I'm going to put in the offset. So this will be the alignment offset. And then I need to multiply it by some factor that will keep it the same length all the time. All right, and what that is the drawing scale conversion. So what this is basically what happens is you have an object, it scales it up based off of the scale, and then this will scale it back down based off of the exact same scale. So that's the drawing scale conversion, and I think it's a multiply by. All right, and then hit OK. And let's just go ahead and try this. Let's put in an alignment label here. So we'll go to annotate, add labels. All right, we'll do a station offset fixed point, and we'll use that new label style I just created. Select the alignment. Apparently, there it is. Okay, let's try this again. All right, and so you can see the length of this line here, but if I change the drawing scale, say to a 1 inch equals 40, it scaled with it. It shouldn't have scaled. Why did it scale? What did I do wrong?
Maybe it's
I never used that expression for the length.
Oh.
I created the expression, I just never used it. So on that line, we have the fixed length. We're going to use that expression, that line length. And that seems to be a bit off as well.
Yeah, I think it was better than
just a wee bit.
Just
maybe it's not multiply by.
Just a smidge.
So what I like to do is I like to explode that and then move the line. Just kidding. Just
Maybe it's divide by.
I'm curious as where you're headed with this.
Like I said, it's been a while since I've done this, and I wish I've done this beforehand. Yeah, there we go. All right, so if I change the drawing scale, say to 1 inch equals 60, you can see that line length stays the same. Right, and so I can have this go to that line. I just need to calculate that length. And so if you need to put something into a label that doesn't scale with the drawing scale, this is how you do it. Right? So it's not multiply by the drawing conversion scale, you divide by the drawing conversion scale. So this is one example, but it's kind of hokey. Who uses alignment labels for fire hydrants? It may be in a unique situation. But one thing I like to do is I like to do this for my pipe labels, right? So I've got this pipe label, and you can see at a 100 scale, this text just goes out beyond the limits of the pipe. What I want is I want this pipe, this text to always be on the pipe. And so within the pipe label, let's go find the pipe label here. Pipe, label styles, plane and profile. I don't know which one this is using. Probably should check that first.
Standard.
Standard. Gotta love standard.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so with the pipe label, there's this option for maximum width or something like that. Where is that? Maximum width here, right? And so what I can do is I can say, hey, I want the maximum width of this text to be whatever the length of the pipe is, right? I don't want it to go beyond that, but it needs to be it can't scale with the drawing scale because the pipe itself doesn't scale with the drawing scale. And so that's where this can be used. So I'm going to go create a new expression here. We'll call this max pipe length. My expression will be the 2D length, or we'll go 3D length to inside edges. And then we will divide that by that drawing conversion factor, drawing scale conversion. And then I can use that in that maximum width. And there it is. So it's always going to be within the pipes. Now, if I change this down to, say, a 1 inch equals 60, you can see it's still word wrapping, but it's word wrapping within that. If I change it to 1 inch equals 40, it's completely within there. If I change it back to 1 inch equals 60, well, the pipe was going to run into the next piece, so it put it down on the next line. Change it to 1 inch equals 100, and it continues to word wrap differently because that's the maximum length it can reach. So that's what I kind of had for today, was this concept of this drawing scale conversion that you can use in your label styles. All right, so again, that's in the expression, sorry. And it's just a property here that is the drawing scale conversion. And as far as I know, all of your expressions will have this as an option. I've not yet to see one where this wasn't an option. So you can always use this in there as well.
So, over the years, I've been watching you show all these expressions and stuff. And one, I'm jealous Revit can't do some crap like that sometimes. But B, I always sit there and wonder, like when a new Revit user or a new Civil 3D user comes in, how over their head all of this crap is.
Right.
Does it matter because they just kind of come in and start using it, or is it because it's the template set up, it's all good, you're all good to go? Or is it, we've really got to start showing the average users all of this data?
I think this is more for the CAD manager. People that are, here for Civil Chat are probably getting into later in their career within Civil 3D. There's probably not a whole lot of brand new users here. But if nothing else, I like to at least show this so people realize that it's an option. They might not be able to go out and do it today or tomorrow, but then, they'll run into a situation. It's like, oh, Brian said something about that. Let me go investigate that a bit more.
Right. And Thomas had a follow-up on this, saying, can that hydrant example be rotated to be perpendicular to the alignment with the expression?
Yes, it can. I just don't remember exactly off the top of my head how to do it. Oh, and yes, if I do move this further away, you'll see that line lengthens because that's based off of the offset. And so I just need to figure out what the rotation is. Let's see if we can do that real quick. Let's see if I can.
You only have 2 questions.
Yeah, I know. I just realized that. I think I've got time. Station offset was this one here. So I think the expression, we'll call this pipe rotation. Let's see what properties we have. We have the instantaneous direction. I think this is what we need. Let's just try that for now. And then I will put that in for the rotation angle of the line.
Well, I was also talking, the line has 2 points, does it not? So you can actually tag the point to the offset position so that way it would rubber band in and out if that's what you're looking to do. Because I've done that with like text work in a label that needs to be underlined and also have the leader connected to it, is I'll connect a line that will rubber band to the width of the text. So that way it'll always be underlined the correct length instead of having to calculate a link in.
Yeah, absolutely. But what do I anchor it to?
The alignment itself.
Right. So I choose feature, and then it
Oh,
doesn't.
there's nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Well, that's terrible. Autodesk. I mean, if we can think it, they should have already done it.
Right? Scikit-CAD.
So Joe had a suggestion saying he thinks if you set the style orientation to the object and then the rotation is 0.
That sounds like right.
That could have been how I did it. Object orientation to object,
Mhm.
and then the rotation would probably have to be like 90 or something like that.
He said 0, but
Yeah. Line that rotation should be 90. Let's see. No, that didn't work.
Feels like that's based on the view.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
and Adam says you do not use the end anchor, but you can set the angle and length.
Right.
yeah. But having to calculate that every time would be kind of, I mean, if everything's the same distance, right?
If I set that to 0, see, it's just going straight up.
The style orientation, not the component.
Right. So, but I've already set the style rotation to reference the object. I don't remember how I did it.
I guess you're gonna go to your own blog and find out you did this.
Yes. Oh, I know I've done it.
I always
just
love
gotta
it.
find it.
Yeah, I'll agree with
Someone
Thomas on
suggested
the
plan
point.
readable
Yeah.
untick and make it
Yeah,
off.
because
Yeah, so yeah, you can see this is exactly what I was doing here. The question is, what did I do? There you go. I wonder if this link even still works. Can't load this file type. Download it. I don't want to log in or sign up. It's been so long since I've messed around on my blog. Yeah, but so my blog has one that says labels with text that doesn't scale. You're kidding, right? I know, it was back in, it was 14 years ago that I did this. So forgive me for not remembering. But but you can download the block and see how I did it. But yeah, so that's what that drawing to scale conversion is.
So Sean does have a question talking about labels. So
Okay.
Can you show us how to make a new label for various items in Civil 3D? Since you're already talking about labeling.
You show us how to make new labels for various items in Civil 3D. That's a very broad question. Anything in specific, Sean? Because I mean, I can show you how to create a new label. I just right click on station offset, choose new, and I got a new label. There. Now, what do you want the label to do?
Like making grading plan for spot elevations.
Sure. Let's see. So if I want to create a new label style, so I'll give you tips and tricks on label styles. How's that? So we'll do a spot elevation label. So I'll go to my label styles, spot elevation, and I'll just create a new label style. So I'll quickly go over some of this stuff. So information, give it a name. All right, we'll call this one, I don't know, civil chat. Who created it? You can edit the who created it by, right? So if I wanted to, if I was creating this for, GEI, I would say GEI, and then it last modified is your login name. General, this is where you're going to get into the text style. So this is the text style I want to use. The text style can be annotative, but it doesn't care, right? It doesn't care if the text style is animated. It doesn't use or annotative. It doesn't use that annotative because it sets its own height to the text. But it could be annotative or not. The label visibility, do you want to see the label or not? I have no idea why this is an option. Right? If I don't want to see the label, then I wouldn't label it. Now, I can see why you might not want to see different components, right? Because I want to use this line to locate that other thing and then put something over there. But then the layer that the label goes onto, the orientation, is it referencing the object? Is it referencing the view, or is it referencing the world coordinate system? So this would be like a line label, right? The bearing and distance on a line. Do you want it to orient with the line? Well, that would be object. If you always want it to be horizontal or level in your view, that would be view. If you always want it to be oriented to the X and the Y, that would be your world coordinate system. Plan readability, do you want it to flip so it's always right side up? And if you do, at what point do you want it to flip? And then flip anchors with text. This one's kind of cool. So if you can always attach things to different parts of other components of a label style. So for example, a piece of text will have 9 attachment points. You have top left, top center, top right, middle left, middle center, middle right, bottom left, bottom center, bottom right. And you can attach to those. So when that piece of text flips because it's plan readable, does the top left up here stay up here, or does it flip with it? So that's what the flip anchors with text is asking you. The layout, this is where you build up the plan. And you can see you can actually get a nice little preview. You can zoom in and pan around in here, see how this is going to look. Right, and then you have different components. So you can add different components. For a spot surface label, you can have text, lines, blocks, or reference text. Reference text will allow you to reference properties from a different object. So this is a spot elevation that maybe I need the station and offset for that alignment. So I can put in a reference text and I can say, hey, I want to reference an alignment. And then this new reference text will be able to reference the alignment properties. So I'd have the station, the offset, all that fun stuff in there. And then you just go in and fill in your properties, set it up the way you want it to go. And that's really all there is to it. The drag state, if you pull it off and you drag it, how do you want it to look? So probably the most common way to do this is stacked text. And so what this will do is we'll take each text component within the label. So on the label, I can have multiple text components here, and it will stack them on top of each other in the order they were created. So whatever was created first will go at the top, whatever's created second will go next, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't matter how they're arranged in the label. It's the order that they're created that will go into the drag state. If you want it to look exactly the way it was when it's not dragged, you would change this to as composed, and then it keeps it exactly the way it was. And that's the basics, real quick and dirty. How do you create label styles, and just an overview. If anybody has any specific things they're interested in with labels, ask. I can definitely delve into that more, but that's the basics of it.
And then, of course, being able to use all your expressions, et cetera, inside of there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about expressions. So when you create an expression, it's math. It does not allow you to put text into something. It is just math. It will output a number of some sort. Now, what is that number going to be in the label? So if I'm going to actually use that in the text of the label, right? So let's say I'm doing a spot elevation label that's giving me the elevation and 6 inches above it because I'm doing flow line and top of curb, right? That is an elevation. So I would format that as an elevation, right? And the formatting here will control how it works within the label. All right, so when I put that into, let's see, when I go into the contents here, right, and I pick something. So for example, if I pick an elevation, I get elevation properties here. Right, this is elevation stuff. All right, if I go into a northern or easting, I don't get elevation properties here. I get coordinate properties here. What else do we have in here? Description, I just get text properties in here. So when I create an expression, let's go ahead and create two expressions. I'll call one offset, and I'm going to format this as a station because this is like for an alignment. And I need to actually put in something in for the expression. We'll just put a 1 in there just as a placeholder. And we'll call this one, I don't know, what do we want this one to be? We'll call this one slope, and we'll format it as a slope. Grade slope. All right. Now I need to put something in there. So now when I go into my contents and I add an offset in here, you can see we get station stuff, right? How do you want the station value to be? If I were to change this to my slope, this is now the grade. You know, I want it to be percent or rise over run or run over rise, or, you know, the different formatting of grades. And so that's how you can go at when you're creating the expressions. That's one of the important things to remember is you always want to make sure to set the format results as properly, or it won't show up in your label as desired.
Thomas says, good info. We have 0.00 and 0.0 spot elevation styles for hardscape dirt using two different styles. Also handy for TCBC and TWBW labels, curbs and walls.
Right. So that's a great segue there, Thomas. So something you can do. So I can create a new label style here. So this will be the standard 100th of a foot label, right? So this will be elevation 1. It doesn't let me put in a right to the 100th. Dread. Whatever. Oops.
That's when you just say hundo.
Yeah, to the Huns. Right. And so in this particular one, I'm going to have it out to the 100th. Now, what I could do is I could do the same thing again, you know, and create a new label here. And this would be the elevation, elevation, 10th or whatever. But I want this one to be exactly the same as the 100th, but for one thing to be different. So rather than creating a brand new style, what I can do is I can right click on the style and I can create a new child style. And so the way the child style works is it will inherit all of the properties of the parent. So if the property of the parent changes, the property of the child changes too, unless I override it at the child. So here I'm going to go into the layout, and I'm simply going to change this component. So I'm going to change that from to the 10th. And apparently, I did not change it for the 100th. I forgot to hit don't forget to hit the stupid little unlabeled white arrow. I believe nobody called me on that one. This one right here. I constantly forgetting to hit the stupid little.
Oh, got to push it over. Yep.
So
you're not alone, Brian. I think that is probably one of the weirdest things they did for us, but
yeah. So let me go ahead and label both of these. So I'll go to the annotate, add labels. This will be a surface. This will be a spot elevation. And we'll start with the 100th. All right, so there it's out to the 100th. And then I'll throw one in, add a 10th. And there it is, right? Now, if I change a property of the parent, right? So I don't know, let's change the text height. So I want to make it twice as big. So instead of 0.1, I want it to be the text height of 0.2. You can see they both change because the child inherited the property from the parent. Now, the only property that the child has is the precision, right? So if I go edit the precision of the parent, We'll change it to something ridiculous. Hit the stupid little unlabeled white arrow. You can see the parent changed, but the child didn't because the child owns that property. So this is a great way of maintaining consistency among your labels. So if you need to make a change to one, you don't have to change them all. You just change the parent and it propagates through them all.
I know there's several questions coming in about this, but I did want to ask you really quick, because this goes on to the expressions and such, and maybe this is something we can save after the questions, but I have an eternal battle with everybody when it comes to significant figures. And whenever you're doing civil drawings, typically you go to two significant figures. In other words, two figures after the decimal. However, people like to do two places after the decimals on a slope, which is actually already two decimals in. And so in small areas like handicap ramps and such, when you have like 0.5 feet of differentiation between it, that significant figure truncation within that's native already in Civil 3D will show you the incorrect slope, or excuse me, the correct slope, and the point labels are incorrect because it truncates it or it rounds it based on how it rounds it. And I've went rounds and rounds with individuals about significant figures, but there is a expression that helps that. And I don't know if you have that, Brian, or not.
Is there an expression that helps with that?
Yes, because what you're going to do is the expression basically rounds the numbers.
I know what you're talking about.
Calculates the slope. And
yeah,
it's a pain in the butt because on pipe labels, because pipes go to the center of the structures, people are just like, well, from station to station here to this one, I get a different slope than what it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically the process is it comes down to the thing that I love to say: 2 + 2 = 5 for very large values of 2.
Yep.
Right. I use this all the time. Right. If you get 2.4 + 2.4, that's equal to what? 4.8. You round each of those to the nearest whole number, you got 2 + 2 = 5.
Yep.
Yes. Right. And so that's the exact same thing that you're referring to. If I have a spot elevation that's out to the 100th and another spot elevation that's out to the 100th, and the distance between them is really short, well, then the slope between them could be this whole wide range. And so what you can do is you can create a new expression for the slope label. So let's go take a look at that. So if I come in here as slope, we'll create a new expression. All right. And so the properties that we have for a slope label is the elevation of the first point and the elevation of the second point. Now, I don't want the elevation of the first point. What I want is the elevation that's labeled at the first point, right? And so my slope is going to be, let's see, we're going to, this one here's your properties. We're going to round the surface slope elevation at the first point, right? Minus the surface slope elevation at the second point.
Yep.
Right. And so that's the run. No, that's the rise. So that's your rise. And then we're going to divide that whole thing. Divide that by the same concept, right? We're going to divide that by the round.
By the way, y'all, I just posted that in the chat for anybody that wants it.
Round the surface slope distance.
Yes.
Right. So something like that. And I might have the formatting or the parentheses wrong, but that's the idea.
Yep.
Right. And so rather than using the actual elevations, you can use the labeled elevations and the labeled distance.
Yep.
Assuming that your labels are rounded the same as what you put into the expression.
Right. Now, the bad part to this is whenever you're going through your feature line expressions and you're looking at the slopes on the feature line, it's going to give you a different value than what is going to be represented in your label, but it's more accurate in the fact that you've got the correct number of significant figures.
Right. And yeah, I've gone rounds with people as well.
Yeah.
I had I set up doing a sanitary sewer.
Yeah.
This is like when I first started, pipe slope did not match the elevation 1 minus elevation 2 divided by the change in station.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but it's within the margins of error. It doesn't match the same. I'm rejecting these plans. Oh my God.
I mean, well, okay, if you're going to look at it, if you've got the distance and then the two elevations, you don't need the slope. So why provide them with that additional information that can be conflicting and thus be sued by? Hello, it's nothing more than just something to check by. It's not something that's required because you've already got that data there.
Right.
You're going to get me on a rant, so I got to stop now.
Yeah. When I first started doing design, I used to work next to the survey department, and one of the surveyors was high up in the company. He came to me one time. We were talking about this type of thing. He's like, Brian, remember, design it to the 1,000th, stake it to the 100th, build it to the 10th.
Yeah.
Right. And one thing I always try to reiterate to new engineers is we are building with bulldozers.
Yes. Quarter of inch doesn't mean jack.
Right. So just keep that in mind. We're building with bulldozers.
Yeah, and not to go ahead of Mike and Sean on the questions, but Hugo was asking, what does it round to? It rounds to whatever significant figure you have specified in your label. So if you've got 3 significants in your label, it will round to that significant figure.
Oh, no, so I think he was asking about the round expression here. So round will round it to the nearest whole number. And so in the expression that Brian put into the chat, his says, well, here, let me pull this over so people on the screen can see it, right? So round the start and the elevation times 100.
People can't see the chat.
The chat. Okay.
Yeah, if your label is set to 3 significant figures, it's going to round that 4 significant figure up or down based on that. If your significant figures of your label is only set to 2, that's what it's going to set in.
Right. So if you want to round to the nearest 100th, right, you're going to do the round, start invert, whatever value it is, times 100, right? So you're going to round that. And then once you rounded it, you then divide by 100.
Yeah.
To get it back to the 100th. Now, in this expression, you didn't have to do the divide by 100 again because it's a ratio. Right? You're multiplying the top by 100, you're multiplying the bottom by 100, it's still the same ratio.
Well, when you get it back in a slope, if you're going to put a percentage sign behind it, you have to divide by it. Otherwise, it gives you the non percentage variation. Sorry, I should have clarified.
Yeah. And so that's just, because this is a ratio, you didn't have to do the multiply by 100 or divide by 100 at the end. But, basically it would look something like, round value times 100 divided by 100. And so that will round to whatever increment you want. That's a great question, Hugo.
Yeah. And then.
All right. What else we got?
Well, Mike, got to follow up. Do you know of an easy way to make a wall height label, i.e. a label that can compare 2 elevation points and display the difference? I usually need to make 2 corridors and a cut and fill surface. Hide the cut and fill surface, add a spot elevation that reads the cut and fill surface.
Oh yeah, you can do that.
You want to take this one, Brian?
I don't know if I can share, but I can talk the way through it because there is where you can do a ref. So if you go into your surface labels, let's just do a spot elevation.
Which is where I just was.
In the spot elevation, you're able to go in there into the layout and actually, you got it, reference text. I love these guys. Now, this will give you the referenced information, but you can run that into an expression, I believe. Or can you not? Because
I don't think so.
We can't subtract through that. You can give both elevations at the exact same point using a reference text, but it's not going to give you the subtraction of the two and tell you the
right. But I think what Mike is wanting, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. So if I have a wall that's running here, right? One side of the wall is going to be at one elevation. The other side of the wall is going to be at the other elevation. And you want the difference between those two. Is that right, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
You could do a comparison surface and label that comparison surface.
But he wants to compare 2 different locations on the same surface.
Well, what I meant was if you do a isopack or a volume surface, There it is. Boop. Go for it.
Okay, got it.
I saw the lights go on.
Don't use a spot elevation label.
That's right.
Use a slope label.
Yep, because it'll give you the differences in the elevation.
Yep. So with an expression within a slope label,
Looks like somebody's
properties
got
you have is you have the slope, surface slope elevation first point, surface slope elevation second point. You can use those in the expression to calculate the difference.
Yep.
And then you just make it look like a spot elevation label on the one side of the wall.
And Greg put in that exact formula in chat.
Well, he did the comparison between the two. We're actually showing, so if I don't know what it would take to show it, but what Brian was showing was actually the difference. So you could take surface elevation 1, subtract it from surface elevation 2, right? But no, that still wouldn't work because it's on the same surface.
Right. So, for example, I'm modeling a wall. The
Mhm.
same surface has the bottom of the wall over here, and then offset has the top of the wall. And he wants to get the difference of two different locations on the same surface.
Oh,
Now,
yes, that's right.
difference of two surfaces, you would need to do a volume surface and then use that.
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to get the bottom of wall elevation over here and the top of wall which is horizontally offset,
Mhm.
then I would use a slope label. You can then calculate the elevation difference,
Yep.
or
He's
you
making-
can just put in the bottom of wall elevation and then the top of wall elevation, just use those two and just make it look like a spot elevation, even though it's a slope label.
Yep. And the only thing you would need to make sure is that you're tagging exactly the feature line at the bottom and tagging the feature line at the top, or your corridor, however you're generally generating it.
Yeah,
But
so your slope label needs to be very accurate for sure.
Yeah.
Right, so if we go surface.
That's why I turn on the triangles, because I can snap straight to the triangle and not have to worry about it.
Yeah. So you want to do it as a 2-point label, and I want to label from the bottom of the wall to the top of the wall, and then that would give you the elevations of two of them, assuming that it's set up correctly.
Yep.
So John put in a chat, another option, draw a line from bottom to the top and label the line with starts and ends. That would work, provided the design never changes.
That never happens. Designs
Yeah,
are static.
never.
Once we design them, nothing ever moves. I have no idea why this is a problem.
Uh,
All right, good conversations.
And then I think the great thing is Sean's like, cool, you got all these labels set up. How do you quickest way to transfer them from one drawing to another or update your company's template?
Okay, so let's talk about moving styles between drawings. There's a couple of different methods. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a brand new blank drawing that has nothing in it, right? So I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to choose open with no template Imperial because I'm in the US and we're backwards from the rest of the world. Someday we'll change, please.
There's two countries that use our units, including ours.
Yeah, including ours. It always takes a long time to open up a drawing this way or create a new drawing this way. I'm not sure why. But when we do, so Civil 3D has never seen this drawing before, so it goes through and it creates all those lovely standard styles. So the only styles that are in this drawing are the standard styles. Now I've got my drawing template and I want to bring some labels into this. So I think drawing 1 was probably created from our template. Let's go take a look here. Yeah, so you can see this drawing 1 here has all my styles in it. And I want to take some of these styles and bring them into drawing 2, which doesn't have any of our styles. All right, so easy way to do that. So here, let me just put a piece of text in here. We'll call this one target. Just so we know that, hey, this is where we're dragging the styles into. So I have the target drawing open and active. Over here, I'm going to change. So I'm on the settings tab, which is where you access your styles. I'm going to change this to master view. And when I change it to master view, I can see all of the drawings that I have open. All right, and I want to take a style from drawing 1. We'll just go a surface style. I'm going to take this one style and simply drag it into the drawing. And that style is now in my drawing. So if I change this back to active drawing settings view, surface, surface styles, you can see I now have that one style in this drawing. Now, if I want to do all of the styles, all of those surface styles, so I'll change this back to master view, surface, surface styles, oops, wrong drawing, drawing one, there we go. I want to bring all of these styles in. What I can do is I can drag the folder the styles are in into the drawing. So I can take this entire folder, drag it into the target drawing, and it will bring them all in. Now, it already had one of the styles in here, so it's asking me, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to overwrite it? Do you want to rename it or skip it? So overwrite, I want to update the style in the drawing with the new settings. Rename, I want to keep the old style in the drawing, but I still want to bring in the new style. It's going to give it a new name. Or skip, I want to leave the one that's in here alone, and I don't want to bring in the duplicates. So I'm just going to choose overwrite. And then you have the apply to all duplicate object items. So if you're just trying to update your template, you'll apply to all duplicate items and hit OK. And now in this drawing, I have all those styles, but I don't have any of the label styles or any of the other styles from that other drawing. All right. And so I just need some setting styles into this drawing. If I want all the styles into this drawing, I come up here to the Manage tab, and I can import the styles. And this is really, really cool and really, really annoying, because if I click on this, it says, yeah, you got to save your drawing.
Yeah.
Right. So I say, OK, I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'll just save it to my temporary drawing location that I always save everything to. All right.
Delete me. Love it.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff in delete me.
Oh, yeah.
I go through my delete me folder, and anything that's older than a month, I get rid of.
Mhm.
All right. And so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to import again. The drawing has, wait a minute, I just saved it. No, I saved it and then I panned.
Yeah. You moved.
Yeah. So you have to save it. And then, so what this, let me do this again. So what this dialog box needs, it needs an OK button. And then over here, it needs a save my drawing and continue, goddamn it button.
Yeah.
I've never understood why AutoCAD thinks of pans and zooms as an action that needs saved.
Right. Yeah.
Never
So I
understood
went ahead and saved it. Now when I import, it's going to ask me, hey, what drawing or template do you want to pull it from? So you can pull it from a drawing or a template. So I'm just going to use our standard Civil 3D template here. And what it's going to do is it's going to compare all of the styles in that drawing to the styles that are in this drawing. And actually, what I should do before I do this,
And
let me
it
make a
should bring
change to
over
one
the,
of these.
it should also bring over the expressions if your styles have expressions.
Yes. So I don't know. I'm going to make a change to one of these styles here real quick. We'll do blues on that one. So this drawing, this style has been changed. Again, I have to save the drawing, and then I can import it. Okay.
So Jason and Corey tend to think that this is going to not work with styles that contain expressions.
It should work. Pretty sure I've done this with expressions.
Yeah, you didn't put words. You didn't put should. Now I've dragged styles over, not using this method, and it pulled the expressions with it. I wouldn't expect this to react any differently, but hey, let's check it out.
Yeah, let's find out. All right, so I got 3 different categories. So if I come down here to surface styles, I've got, and then yeah, let's come down here to label styles. So I've got 3 different categories, really. I've got the to be deleted. So you can see this standard style is in my drawing, but it's not in my template. So I can delete it. Now, I can't toggle this on because it's being used, and therefore I can't delete it. I have the to be updated. So the to be updated are styles that are in both templates. So the to be deleted, let's go back to here. This style is in my drawing, but not in my template. So I'm importing from the template into the drawing. So it's in my drawing, but not in the template. So it's a non-standard style, so I can delete it. It's to be deleted. The to be updated are the styles that are in both files. So it's in my drawing and my template. So I can update the style that's in my drawing based off of what's in the template. Right? And then lastly, I have the to be added. So the to be added, it's not in my drawing, but it is in the template. So it will bring that in and just add it to the drawing. And I suppose there is a a fourth case, if we want to round out the whole choice option, the style is not in the drawing and it's not in the template, but I'm not sure how that would work. Right. Now, if you notice under my import, I can't uncheck this style, right? I can't say don't import this style. I can uncheck this one, right? But I can't uncheck this one. And the reason is because this is the default style for some command. And the reason it's being set is because I've got the option import settings on down here at the bottom. If I uncheck that, then I don't have to import those. But because I'm importing the settings say this is the default style, so it has to bring it in. All right, and so I hit OK, and then OK again, and then it will import all those styles into my drawing, and then it'll tell me how much work it's done, and I didn't have to do, which is really nice.
Now, before somebody else asks a question, what is that import settings? What is that settings that it's trying to import?
So that's a great question. I'm not exactly sure what all the settings are, because it doesn't do all settings. If I come into here, so if I go to the edit feature settings, so it's these types of settings. All right, if I go into the drawing settings, it's these types of settings. Well, most of these types of settings, right? So these ambient settings. So it'd be these settings. One thing it does not bring in is the object layer settings, which is really freaking annoying.
I can show you how to do that though.
Yeah, I can never remember. You've shown it to me so many times, and I'm like, every time I do it, I'm like, oh God, now what do you have to do? You have to do the one thing and then change it, and then yeah, it's like it's a bug that I don't want them to fix.
Yeah, it's if you go to master view. So if I'm in drawing, I'm in the drawing that I want to match.
Right. So this drawing,
yep,
in drawing 2 here.
You're in drawing 2, and you're
Right,
taking everything's on 0.
If I go to the object layers, everything's on 0.
Yep. So hit cancel. Now go to the drawing that's made from the template. And just don't actually go to it. Right click on it and go to edit drawing settings.
So I'm still in the target drawing.
Yep, you're still in the target drawing.
Edit drawing settings.
And now just hit OK. That's all you have to do. Now go back to drawing. And now isn't that weird?
Yeah. That can mess you up so bad.
Oh yeah. Somebody that doesn't understand could accidentally do it in reverse. So be very careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just seems horrible. Yeah. I want to see what the properties are of this one. Okay, you just added all those properties to your new drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, let me create one more new drawing here. I'll show you another way of importing styles into a drawing.
Oh, did we lay to rest that the expressions don't come through?
We did not. We should test that.
Okay, no problem.
And while that's going through, because I know this isn't really a thing, we're waiting for the file to start. Thomas asked the question: any good Dynamo intro videos you can share, or sites you can share?
There's the Dynamo forum, but I don't remember the name of it. It's not like on the Autodesk forums. It's
I think it's just Dynamo forum dot something.
Yeah.
Oh look, I'll post it in the chat.
Yeah, that's probably the best place to go. I don't have any recommendations necessarily for any videos. So yeah. So again, here I'm in drawing 3, no styles. I haven't saved the drawing yet. I can just insert a drawing that has all the styles in it. All right, just use your regular insert command, find a drawing that has the styles in it, and then those styles will come with it. It does not bring in the settings, but it will bring in all the styles. That's another way of doing them. All right, now let's test it. Let's see, let's go into point style, not point styles, label styles. Label styles, and I'm going to create an expression that says, we'll call it add 1. This will just be the point elevation plus 1. And then I'm going to add that, use that, it has to be used in a style. And then we will add 1, put it in there. So it is now being used. Do a save on this.
And John Mayo said when it's used in a style and use a drag and drop, the expressions will work.
Right. But the question is, well, what about the import?
Or I think the other question is if you just have expressions and you haven't added them to the style, they're just there in case. Will just the expressions come across?
I don't think they would come across. That was drawing one. Make sure to bring everything across. There it is. So yes, it does bring the expressions across with it. As long as the expression is being used in a style, it should come in. So
Any issues importing styles from one version of Simple 3D to another?
not that I'm aware of. So not recent versions. You know, like if you're going backwards to an unsupported version or a non-backwards compatible, you wouldn't be able to do that. But if they've added something new into a style, if you were imported into the newer version, it would come in and then just use a default value for that newer setting. It would be my guess.
I mean, what DWG format hasn't changed since 2018.
Right.
Cool. And then the last question with 2 minutes to spare. How do you guys set up a block library and roll it out to the office? Most users just copy blocks from previous drawings. I want to speed up their process.
So I've touched on this a lot. So I'm going to let Brian talk on this one a little bit.
Oh yeah, yourself. Yeah. I'm gonna allow. We utilize. We utilize Design Center and we utilize tool palettes. And that seems to be the easiest way to make ease of access for individuals. Design Center is probably a little bit less CAD management, where you can just point people to a particular drawing and then they can dive into it and grab the blocks. But if you want to make it easier for the end user, we utilize tool palettes and create a palette just like Brian's showing on there. Yep.
Yep.
And that is that's the best way to control it, because, you know, Brian and I, we can lock these guys down and just have them. So that way, you know, it's all read only. At least that's how we have it here.
Yeah.
And that way, if we make an update, it pushes the update through. And and I've had great success with that, especially with updating blocks. Because once it goes through to the primary location, you know, everybody's mapped to it. They'll get the newer block.
Yep. So that's the way we do it as well. We don't really use Design Center. Is there a way to access a specific drawing in Design Center through a button on the ribbon?
Yes, there is.
Maybe there probably would be.
Yeah. Let me here. I guess I'm gonna need to share really quick if that's okay. Can I share? Do I know how to share? Oh, I can't share. I'm not a very sharing person though. All right, let me see. We'll just do a window application. I'll give it my best. So correct, within hours, all these open up. These are our layer commands or our multi-leader. And when we select it, it brings up the appropriate file with the appropriate layers within it. Same with multi-leader. It'll go to the correct location.
Nice.
If we take a look at these guys, let me see. It's been sorry, it's just been a while since I've modified these things. I believe I've got to go into the CUI to see that.
Yep.
Here, I'll try to do that. Brian, you lead
I
me
can walk you. Yeah,
because it's been about 7 years since I got into this. That's how long it's been going. So
if you just so do you know which CUI file they're in?
Yes, I do. They would be in our TTCAD.
Okay, so what you can do at the top where it says all customization files, hit that pull down and then choose that CUI file. It just makes life a lot easier.
Ah, fantastic.
And then you should be able to go to find the tab. Actually,
Yeah.
you want to go to panels.
Oh, panel.
Mhm.
Sorry. Thank you. So let's just go to layers. Here, let me see if I can make this large enough for everybody to be able to see, to be able to.
So it looks like it's a CAD navigate is what the command is. No, CADC navigate.
Yep.
I wonder if that's a custom
No,
type.
that's Control C, then it's ADC navigate.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah,
Autodesk Design Center
yeah,
navigate.
navigate. And then then you put
That's
in
for the path name.
Yep.
Yep, that's cool.
Yeah. And you can do that with practically any of them. And at that point in time, yeah, we love the Design Center and the fact that it makes just getting stuff so much easier and faster. Add layers, and now it's in there.
Yep.
And we are at the bottom of the hour. Look at that timing.
All right, I'm gonna stop my sharing. Woohoo!
Woo-hoo.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for showing up today. We'll be here again next month with more exciting civil chat. So look forward to seeing y'all then. Until then, I will be posting this up on my YouTube channel, and we'll look forward to seeing y'all again next time. Take care, everybody.
Awesome all. Thanks, guys. And gals, or whatever you identify as.